There is a dangerous assumption many people make about spiritual life. We assume that if people experience enough blessings, they will remain loyal to God. But history and Scripture tell a very different story. A generation can witness miracles. A nation can see divine provision. A people can stand in the shadow of God's power and still slowly drift away, because blessings alone do not produce loyalty. Loyalty requires a decision of the heart, and every generation must make that decision for itself. It would be comforting if faith could simply be inherited, if the spiritual victories of one generation automatically guaranteed the devotion of the next. But that is not how the human heart works. Children can grow up hearing stories about God and still never truly know Him. A church can remember revival while quietly losing its hunger for God. A nation can be shaped by faith and still forget the source of its blessings. History repeatedly shows us something sobering. Spiritual experiences are powerful, but they are not permanent unless they are personally embraced. One generation encounters God. The next generation remembers God. The third generation wonders if God is even real. The distance does not happen overnight. It happens gradually, quietly, almost invisibly. The Bible records this pattern with striking honesty. One of the clearest examples occurs after the great victories of Israel in the land God promised them. The people had seen miracles that most of us can hardly imagine. They had watched the waters of the Jordan divide. They had seen fortified cities collapse. They had experienced supernatural victories again and again. God had proven His faithfulness repeatedly. Yet after that generation passed away, Scripture records something heartbreaking. Another generation rose up that did not know the Lord or the works He had done. Think about that. How does a people move from witnessing miracles to forgetting God? Not through rebellion at first, but through neglect. They stopped remembering. They stopped teaching. They stopped choosing God intentionally. And slowly their hearts drifted. Ironically, blessings themselves can sometimes create spiritual danger. When life is hard, people tend to seek God urgently. Need drives prayer. Desperation creates dependence. But when life becomes comfortable, something subtle begins to happen. Gratitude slowly turns into assumption. Dependence turns into independence. And the gifts begin to overshadow the giver. People begin enjoying the blessings of God without maintaining their relationship with God. Faith becomes cultural rather than personal. Religion becomes routine rather than devotion. And eventually the heart begins to wander. Not always dramatically, but quietly, slowly, like a boat drifting from shore without anyone noticing. This is why Scripture repeatedly calls people to choose. Faith is never meant to operate on autopilot. Every generation must decide, will we serve God because our parents did? Or will we serve Him because we personally know Him? Spiritual loyalty cannot survive on borrowed conviction. It must be renewed intentionally, daily, personally, continually. No one accidentally becomes devoted to God. Devotion is cultivated, nurtured, protected, guarded against distraction, because the world constantly competes for the attention of the human heart. And whatever captures the heart eventually shapes the life. If blessings alone cannot preserve loyalty, what can? The answer is intentional devotion, choosing gratitude when comfort tempts us to forget, choosing prayer when life becomes busy, choosing obedience when culture moves in another direction, choosing God not just when we need Him, but when life is going well. Because true faith is not sustained by miracles alone. It is sustained by relationship, a relationship that must be pursued, maintained, and valued. Blessings may reveal God's goodness, but only devotion reveals our loyalty. Every generation stands at the same crossroads. Will we simply enjoy the blessings God has given, or will we intentionally remain faithful to the one who gave them? History shows us what happens when people forget, but it also shows us what happens when people choose God again. Faith can be renewed. Devotion can be revived, and loyalty can be restored. But it begins with a simple personal decision. Not someday, not eventually, but today. My friends, choose the giver, not just the gifts. Faith has never been reasonable in the eyes of the world, but God has always honored obedience. This channel is dedicated to biblical teaching that challenges comfortable Christianity and calls believers to walk by faith, not by sight. If this message encouraged you, don't forget to like, subscribe, share with someone who needs hope today,